I can confidently say it's crack. It's drugs. I watch Judge Mathis. I know a crackhead when I see one. Hello, little enzymes. Welcome back to Dacia's Digest. The topic for today's video is, what were you thinking? We have 3 stories for today. They all have updates. Everything will be included in the description. Let's go ahead and get into it. So the first story says, am I the a-hole for not leaving my own birthday party to drive my best friend home? Hi everyone, this is my first post, so please bear with me. I, 26 female, have been best friends with Jake, 27 male, for over 6 years. We work at the same company and are also planning to go on a work and travel trip together soon. This situation happened last Friday, which was my birthday. I had planned a big family gathering with over 20 guests, some of whom traveled over an hour to be there. Jake was invited and he told me he would come. The night before, we went grocery shopping together, but while sitting in the car, he suddenly told me last minute that he wouldn't be attending because he picked up an extra shift at work. Okay. I was a little hurt because we always celebrate our birthdays together and he didn't need to take the shift. Our company has plenty of people who could have covered it, but I accepted it and moved on. On my birthday, we were texting before his shift. For context, Jake doesn't have a driver's license and usually relies on public transport or walks. I do have a license, but I don't own a car. I use my mother's when I need it. That afternoon, he mentioned that he would have to walk home because public transport stops running at a certain time, something he already knew when he took the shift. He also told me he was feeling a bit sick and asked if I could pick him up and drive him home. What? Our boss even told him he could leave 2 hours early to catch the bus if he needed to, but he chose not to. Sounds like he's trying to sabotage this party. Hold on. Y'all have been best friends for 6 years. Y'all work at the same company. I don't understand. I don't understand what his reasoning is. He picked up an extra shift that he didn't have to pick up on the day. It really sounds to me like he's trying to sabotage the party for, I don't know why, but this is weird. So she continues, I told him I couldn't leave my own birthday party just to pick him up and drive him home. I had guests over, food and drinks to serve, and I felt it would be rude to leave when people had put in time and effort to celebrate with me. He replied, can't you just leave for 5 minutes and drive me home? Okay, he's starting to sound like a narcissist or something. She said, I explained that it wasn't just a 5-minute trip. I would be gone for at least 30 minutes in total. He replied with a dismissive ... Okay. Later, I checked Find My to make sure he got home safely and texted him, apologizing that I couldn't drive him, reminding him that I normally do, but I really couldn't leave my own party. That's when he got angry and told me my behavior was unacceptable and that I was just making excuses. What? For further context, I do drive him home fairly often, even when I'm not working the same shift as him. But this time I had a prior commitment, one that he was originally supposed to attend. I reminded him again that our boss had told him he could leave early to catch the bus. At this point, he started arguing that the town is dangerous at night, but we've both lived here our entire lives and nothing has ever happened to us. I used to walk at night all the time before I had a license, and another friend of ours, who is also a coworker, regularly walks home late at night without issue. I tried to understand if something else was going on and asked him if maybe he was upset about something deeper and just projecting it onto this situation. I might have worded it poorly, but instead of talking, he just exploded at me. I apologized if I said it the wrong way, but at that point, he wasn't listening to me at all. Meanwhile, he wasn't trying to understand my side either. I told him it was my responsibility to be at my own birthday party and that my guests had made an effort to celebrate with me. I couldn't just disappear for half an hour. He dismissed that and told me I was a bad friend, a bad sister, because I said I wouldn't drive my sister home either if I had prior commitments and it wasn't an emergency, and that my priorities were all wrong. No, her priorities just aren't you, buddy. She said, in the end, he told me he didn't want to see me for a while. I am honestly confused and questioning our friendship after this because of how he reacted. I really tried to understand his side, and I get that he was hurt that I wasn't there for him when he needed me, but at the same time, I couldn't just leave my own party if it wasn't an emergency. Now I don't know if our friendship can bounce back from this or how I'm supposed to rely on him moving forward. If this is how he reacts to something like this, what happens if we end up in a similar situation while traveling? Is he just going to leave me behind if I don't do what he wants? For the context, him feeling sick was related to a sore throat, so nothing that would be classified as an emergency. Yeah, bro is unhinged. He literally created all of his own roadblocks in this situation. I don't understand. Somebody said, not the a-hole, and he is not your friend. Another person, yeah, if he's such a close friend, that her refusing to leave her own birthday party to give him a ride is unacceptable. How is it acceptable that he unnecessarily picked up a shift and missed her party? Right. OP responded, I never expected this, to be honest, because we take birthdays pretty seriously, and normally we wouldn't miss each other's birthday, but I was accepting it because we actually thought about making plans the next day to do a homemade spa day or something like this. But the way he reacted to me not driving him home was just out of the blue because I didn't know him like that. Someone responded to that and said he manufactured a situation where you were supposed to choose him and he got pissed off because you put yourself first for once. He was testing you. Another person responded and said, this is kind of what I was thinking. He sounds manipulative. No one is going to leave their birthday party to give someone a ride home. It's incredibly rude to leave a party in your honor, and I'm 99% sure that is common knowledge. Either there is something else going on, or he fabricated this whole thing as a test. OP responded, and he told me that he has talked to others about it, and not one of them disagreed with his point of view. That made me a bit insecure about if I'm the a-hole here, but I think the comments are debunking it. Thanks, y'all. I just would love to know what he told those people, or his thought process for that matter, because I would never react this way. The test could be a plausible explanation. He might have felt the need to test me before we go to another country for 1 year. That's the other thing I need to figure out, because if that is how he is reacting to something like this, I can't rely on him, and even if our friendship survives, I can't go to another country with him as a support system. I would not go nowhere with this guy. And it sounds like he on some red pill forums or something crazy like that. It sounds like those are the people that are giving him advice or validating his point of view, because I don't think any sane person would hear that unless he told somebody a lie or stretched the truth. No sane person would look at this situation and be like, oh yeah, bro, you didn't do anything wrong. What? Somebody responded, oh, please don't go with him. So many flags. She said, yes, I think going alone is my only option here. I've also been talking to a friend who is not associated with him, but knows him. She was baffled by the situation and also told me to go on my own and keep my distance for a while and reevaluate. Yeah, that would be the end of it for me. I try to, I don't know, that would be, I would really have to think hard if I wanted to continue a friendship with a person like that. That would just really give me the ick. Let me go ahead and go to the update, which was about 5 hours later. She said, I know this is an early update because my post is just a few hours old, but I thought I would compress more information and some things that happened in the last few hours into an update. First of all, thank you all for the helpful comments. I never expected so many people to relate to this. I'm so sorry for everyone who has gone through something similar. To clarify something I've been speculated in the comments, There are no romantic feelings. He's gay, so there was never any romantic interest between us. After reading a lot of comments and reflecting on everything, I've decided to go no contact aside from necessary work-related interactions. I've also made the decision to go forward with my work and travel plans alone because I simply can't trust someone like this to be my emergency contact in another country. I had a long conversation with my parents and showed them the chat. My mom actually broke down crying. She told me she's seen narcissistic behavior and red flags in him for years, but things have gotten worse in the last few months. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking narcissist. It was definitely giving that. She continues, she said this has been weighing on her, and when she laid everything out for me, I finally saw the bigger picture. Even though it wasn't a romantic relationship, I now realize he was isolating me from other friends and family, always trying to make himself the center of my social life. He even tried to insert himself into most of my other friendships, and looking back, anytime I made progress in life, he would find a way to hold me back or drag me down. My dad told me that some of the recent arguments I've had with my family were actually their way of trying to get me to see what was happening, but I just didn't recognize it until now. He also said he's relieved I won't be traveling overseas with him. My parents reassured me that while this will be hard at first, I will heal, and cutting ties now will make things easier in the long run. They also pointed out things I had overlooked, like how he tagged along on family holidays without paying, but was never particularly grateful to my family for inviting him without paying. I've started talking to one of our mutual friends about what's happened. She's currently busy with the Super Bowl, but once she's back, I'll tell her everything as objectively as possible. Side note, shout out to the Super Bowl. Shout out to K. Kung Fu Kitty, Kendrick Lamar on that Super Bowl performance. 11 out of 10. Amazing. Anyways, back to this. She said, I don't want to trash talk him or damage his reputation at work, but if coworkers ask, I'll be honest about why I've distanced myself. I genuinely do wish him the best, and I hope he works through his issues and finds happiness, but I'm done. My mom breaking down in tears was the final straw for me. Even though a lot of my social circle overlaps with him, I know I'll eventually sort everything out and move on. It honestly feels like a friendship divorce, but I think this is a necessary step. I need to reevaluate who my real friends are and how they treat me, and I might need to cut ties with a few other people along the way. I actually texted one of my close friends joking that we're getting a divorce and that I'm filing for custody of her. I really hope she won't be manipulated by him, but right now, I need to be prepared for anything. This won't be easy, but I'll cut my losses and move forward, hopefully toward a better future with better friends, ones I can truly trust and who put just as much effort into our relationship as I do. Okay, well, that's good because I definitely was getting narcissist vibes. And also, FYI, this was originally posted in the Dusty Thunder subreddit, which is another Reddit reaction page. And I think that's it for now. Let me see, what is this? Yeah, so far I think that's it. All right, let's go to the next story. I think she made the right decision though, because that doesn't seem to be going anywhere healthy. Child, the title of this story, I was like, what? Oh man. The title is, On Our Anniversary, my 27 male, wife 27 female, and I were intimate, and she said another man's name during intimacy. He is a mutual friend. I'm at a loss. How do I navigate this? This first post was July 6th, 2024. So it says, I'm 27 male in a fight with my wife, 27 female, after an incident during intimacy. For context, we're high school sweethearts, married for 6 years. We have a child, 3 male. We've been through a lot together. I love her deeply. I mean, y'all know how I feel about the high school sweethearts. If Reddit stories are any indication, then high school sweetheart relationships have a very low success rate. I'll just say that. Anyway, let's see. So he says, our marriage is in a rough patch. Our quality time as a couple is struggling. We're in counseling. We're working on making time for each other and reaffirming our bond. That's our current focus in counseling, and we're assigned intimacy exercises. Part of these exercises is for us to make a consistent, conscious effort for each other. We had a staycation to celebrate our anniversary while our son spent the weekend at his grandparents'. Oh, so they were having problems before the incident. Okay, I see what's going on. So he said the trip was largely nice and we got to better focus on each other, but it took a turn. The night of our anniversary, we were cuddling and it turned into more. My wife initiated. She was really into it and expressive, and then out of nowhere, she said another man's name who is in our friend group. Oh, man. That's not good. That means he was on her mind during her expressive nature. That is not good. Ugh. He said, we stopped immediately. There was no mistaking what she said. She looked stunned before recovering and treating it like a texting typo or something. When I questioned why she'd say another guy's name, let alone one of our friends, she swore it meant nothing and that she was just consumed with what I was doing to her. I couldn't buy it. I don't believe it meant nothing, not the passionate way she said it. I believe she was fantasizing about him while being with me. That is exactly right, OP. You would be exactly right. I would be very surprised if that's not the case. Very, very surprised. He said she insisted it wasn't like that and was only a slip of the tongue. I asked why his name in particular. First, she didn't know, then said maybe because she was replying to his text earlier in the group chat. When I pushed back, she got defensive. She said I was making something out of nothing and how it didn't need to ruin our anniversary. I told her nothing she was saying was reaching me and I needed some time. She tried kissing me and initiating again like nothing happened, but I turned her down. The incident put a damper on the rest of the trip. We haven't been intimate since, and any steps we've made forward with our exercises have taken a significant leap back. We're in a cycle of awkward silence even in front of our son or her ignoring the elephant in the room. She's being extra affectionate now, but I can't shake what happened. I never thought twice about their friendship, but now I'm seeing past interactions differently. Ooh! I love my wife. She and our son mean the world to me. I've been committed to working on our marriage, but I'm at a loss here. I feel my wife isn't being honest and is attempting to rug sweep by pouring on affection. I'm left reconsidering everything. I don't know how to navigate forward. I need outside perspectives. Whoo, child. That's a mess. What were you thinking? That's what I want to know. That's what I want to ask the wife. What were you thinking? Some of the comments, someone said, definitely need to save conversations on this for your counseling sessions. I highly recommend using a therapist certified in the Gottman method. Someone else said, and the way the wife responds to him telling the counselor will say a lot about where she is in all of this and whether she's taking it seriously or just going through the motions. Someone else said, okay, if this happened with my partner, the first place my head would go immediately would be he's having an affair. But being on the outside, even though an affair is still on my list of possibilities, I don't think affair is the only logical answer. My other logical conclusion isn't very pretty either, though, but it's happened that people are fantasizing about someone else. So she may just have the hots for this dude, and thinking of him gets her going, and she was so in her own head picturing him that she got lost in her own moment and it slipped out. For me, this option would still be grounds for me to take a step back and question a lot. Even thinking of my partner fantasizing about a friend while being intimate with me makes me want to throw up. So I 100% can understand why this has messed you up so bad. I don't think any response is going to make you feel better, honestly. It happened, and that's going to be a hard one to forget. Man, I wish I had advice, but knowing how it would make me feel, I have nothing, I believe, will make this feel any better for you. I would absolutely check your phone records to see if they are communicating more than they should be. That would definitely be my first move, right? Because then from there on, how will you know at what point she thinking about him and not while she with you? How will you know? You're not a mind reader. That would mess me up. Ooh. Someone said Reddit is bananas. There was a post here the other day by a guy who fantasized about another woman while being intimate with his wife, and it was the best intimacy they ever had. Oh no. He was wrecked with guilt and was asking if he should confess. Tons of commenters were saying they've done it. It's not a big deal. It's just a fantasy. Don't borrow trouble by telling the wife, etc., etc. I'm not saying that to convince you to react one way or another. How you feel is how you feel. But I do say it to caution you against taking advice from Reddit, because what you'll get tends to be completely arbitrary, and many commenters are influenced by what they read from others, and it snowballs. You're already in counseling with your wife. Take this there and ignore whatever you read from people who say, it's no big deal. I fantasize about someone else every time I'm intimate with my partner, LOLOL. Man, I could never get past this. She clearly wants that guy, and it's only a matter of time before she cheats. Get out while you're still young. We don't have the answers you need. Talk to your wife and counselor. That's probably the most sensible comment here. Hopefully he takes that advice. So I think I don't know why it said the original was July 6th, 2024, but actually the original was 10 days ago, which was probably February 1st, 2025. So the update was 8 days later, which probably February 8th or 9th. Says, thanks to everyone who reached out. I, 27 male, couldn't reply to everything, but the outside perspectives helped. A general consensus was that my wife, 27 female, and I's issue should be tackled in therapy. I knew that's what I should have done, but I delayed. I was too embarrassed. The thought of bringing up what happened in counseling made it worse, but I knew it had to be done. My wife didn't initially take kindly to it. She was defensive and accused me of throwing her under the bus. I disagreed. I wouldn't throw her under the bus either. The truth is, we never arranged topics in therapy beforehand. We argued over each other. Our therapist came through as a referee. She called for a timeout for us to recollect and to reflect on the objective being working towards a solution, not going at each other. We were able to actually talk once things cooled down. My wife was asked how she would feel if the roles were reversed. She admitted if I had said another woman's name while we were intimate and on our anniversary, she wouldn't have handled it well at all. She apologized for downplaying my feelings. While I appreciated her acknowledgement, I still thought she wasn't honest about why she said that guy's name, so I pressed. She said she didn't want to hurt me more than she already did. I told her she was hurting me by lying. She confessed that during a stint where we weren't being intimate, she had engaged in fantasies to satisfy herself. One of them was of our friend. The friend? I knew the stint she was talking about. Intimacy as a whole has been a struggle, but there was a point where we were abstinent sexually. We weren't even sharing a bed at the time. We'd argue, then leave to separate rooms, or our son, 3 male, would share the bed with us. I asked how long she's been fantasizing about him. She said off and on. He wasn't a constant fantasy. It wasn't necessarily about him, but more about the taboo. She swore that the fantasies meant nothing, that they were just scenarios to get her there and nothing she would ever actually want. It was tough, but I tried hearing her out instead of shutting down. Arguing wasn't getting us anywhere either. I can't relate to her about this. She's always been enough for me during good and bad times. I was always focused on her during intimacy. I told her that while I knew our marriage wasn't perfect, I thought we were getting to a better place and we were engaging in various forms of intimacy again. She claimed she doesn't indulge in the fantasies anymore. I called bull because she just did on our anniversary of all days. She insisted his name was only a slip of the tongue because she was replying to his text in the group thread that day. She said she was consumed with what I was doing to her, and in the heat of the moment, his name slipped out. I don't know, sis. I don't know if I'm buying that. He continues, when I asked why she didn't tell me all of this after the incident, she said she felt guilty and afraid for our marriage. She said our marriage was already in a state of recovery and she didn't want to blow everything up over a stupid mistake. She kept saying she doesn't want him or anyone else. She only wants to be with me, and that's the whole reason why she's fighting for our marriage. The session was a lot. I was mostly quiet after she finished. She asked me to please say something, but all I could say was I needed some time. I'm still sorting through how I feel. I believe she was more truthful, but it's difficult, nor do I see things between her and our friend the same. I would like to work on my marriage. My wife and our son mean the world to me. I want the best solution for everyone involved. Thank you again to everyone. I appreciate the support. Oh, man. Here's a couple comments. Someone said, I think the next thing you need to do is schedule another therapy session and discuss tools for rebuilding trust. At this point, you bring up your trust was shook because she kept trickle-truthing. And how can you know she isn't hiding more from you? That you don't want to distrust her, but you don't know how to rebuild. Allow me to be blunt about some uncomfortable truths. Everyone fantasizes. It is if and how we act on our fantasies, and if we allow our fantasies to impact our real life that matters. Keep your focus on her behavior, not her fantasies. Trust is similar to reputation in that once it is broken, it is hard to rebuild, but it can be rebuilt. Trust is always a leap of faith. It is built on little acts of consistent, reliable behavior, but at its heart, it is a leap of faith. The little voices in your head, the ones going, but what if she is secretly in love with friend? But what if she thinks he's more attractive than me? Yes, those voices, nothing your wife can say or do will be able to silence those voices. That is a battle for you and you alone. You need to figure out how to self-soothe those voices. I'm a little indifferent on the advice in that comment. I think their best bet is just to stick it through with the marriage counselor. I think they'll probably have the best advice, the best plan, for them to move forward. Someone responded, well, that's the problem with trickle-truthing. There's no way to know when she stops trickling and when she's telling the truth. That is true. Okay. Oh, geez. So that update was yesterday, and there's nothing else just yet. So we shall be on the lookout, child. I hope y'all can get through that, OP. So here's the last story that we have. My husband left our 5-year-old and 9-month-old home alone and refuses to explain why. From this title alone, I can tell you it's crack. I can confidently say it's crack. It's drugs. Nobody in their right mind leaves minor children, basically a toddler and a baby, home alone for anything but crack. So really, I don't even have to read the story. But we'll read it. There is a content warning for child neglect and endangerment, of course. The first post says, my husband is 43 and I'm 31. We've been married for 7 years and have a 5-year-old and a 9-month-old. My husband left our children alone and he refuses to admit to it or tell me where he was. I'm furious, enraged, and my husband keeps telling me I'm making a big deal out of nothing. This just happened this weekend. I am on the board of directors for a local nonprofit organization. I had to attend an event for that organization this past Saturday, and I was gone for most of the day. My husband was supposed to be home with our kids. I texted him a few times and he responded. When I called around midday, he didn't respond, but that's not very unusual. Shortly after, I got a call from my mom. She said my son had just called her, and when she asked him what he and his sister were doing, he said they were both watching TV. When she asked where their dad was, he said his dad wasn't there. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. I'm speechless, honestly. Like, as a wife, I don't know what I would do if my so-called husband was so irresponsible to leave our baby and a 5-year-old home alone. Like, I'd probably be looking at divorce lawyers. I don't know. I just feel like I wouldn't be able to trust somebody who could just flippantly do that. Oh, child. Okay. So she continues, my mom asked him several other questions, and from my son's responses, she believed he was telling the truth and that my husband wasn't there and that there was no adult there at all. She said he didn't seem scared to be alone or worried about where his dad was at. He just called her to chat. He has a tablet designed for children with pre-programmed contacts that he can call. It's only a few people, just family members. And the fact that the kid was so calm in this situation tells me this is not the first time, which would anger me even more, because you are consistently leaving my children home alone. Like, literally anything can happen. Literally they could die. Like, kids need supervision. They can accidentally start a fire. They can actually turn the oven on and have the gas running. They can flood the house. Like, they can get into some scissors or something and cut themselves. They can get into the medicine cabinet and take something they're not supposed to. It's kids. They need supervision. What? And then, presumably, the baby not getting the diaper change, the baby not getting fed. What? So she says, I left the event immediately and began texting and calling my husband repeatedly. He didn't respond to my first several attempts. It took him about 10 minutes. I was halfway home at that point to respond. I was so confused, so worried, really mad, and I asked him where he was. He said he was at home. I told him our son had just told his grandmother that he was home alone with his baby sister watching TV about 15 minutes ago. My husband denied it, and I told him I was too upset to talk and drive. When I got home, I checked on the kids right away and they were both fine. I asked my husband again, where was he? He said he was home the entire time. He doesn't know what our son was talking about, but he must have just been confused since he had gone to the basement to do some laundry. I ran down to the basement. It was the same load of laundry I'd thrown in the dryer the night before. Also, go out to the parking lot and touch the car to see if the engine's still hot. Cause yeah. She said he didn't do any laundry when I was gone. I asked my husband why my son would be confused about whether his dad was home or not. Where in our home would he have gone, and for how long for our son to think his dad wasn't home? That doesn't make sense with a 5-year-old and a 9-month-old. You wouldn't leave them unattended that long. Why was he nowhere to be found when my mom asked my son to go check certain areas of the house? I begged my husband to just admit it, to stop treating me like an idiot, and to stop accusing our son of lying. Just tell me the truth, because being lied to right to my face is so incredibly maddening. He insists he was home, but he can't come up with any believable story of where he was at or what he was doing during that time. The way he answers me when I ask him about this and demand truthful answers is so dismissive. When I tell him, you left our children alone, he quickly says, no, I didn't. So anyway, he says I'm overreacting and letting our son's imagination drive me crazy. Bro, the gaslighting. She says, I'm convinced he was gone. We don't have a Ring camera, but at least one of our neighbors does. I'm so upset about this that I'm tempted to ask our neighbor for the Ring footage. Do it! Do it! She said, I had to go out to my car and scream and cry because I got so upset. Of course, I didn't want my kids to see my reaction. I can't put into words how upset I am about the fact that I know he must have really left them alone, but I have no proof and am being treated like I'm just a paranoid nutcase of a mother or a woman by him. Girl, look, first comment. When my now ex did this, it was drugs. Come on now. I watch Judge Mathis. I know a crackhead when I see one. It's drugs. I said that before even reading a word of this story. Just on the title alone, I knew it was drugs. It's crack. It's crack or something else. Very serious. That's the only explanation. That's literally the only explanation. Even if he was messing with some lady that he would like, even if he was cheating, messing with some lady he wasn't supposed to do, he could bring the kids. He could just tell the kids, oh, this is my friend, like, don't tell mommy, this is your auntie or something. He could make up, have the kids, sitting in the living room playing with their iPad or, I'm trying to think any other situation that somebody might have to leave the house. That's what it is. You can't convince me any other way at this point. Anyway, the rest of the comment says, I didn't know about it. He told me months later when I found out that he often left at night and put the kids in the living room together. So if the house burned down, at least they'd be together. Wow. My youngest was under a year. The oldest was 5. Don't stop asking questions. OP responded, this gives me chills. That's crazy. Someone else said, I haven't seen it anywhere, but will admit I haven't looked super deeply. So I'll add this to you. This is not the first time your husband has left your children alone. Your son's reaction to grandma is proof enough of that. He was calm, completely unbothered by the fact that he and the baby were alone. He would not react like that the first time. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. This is not the first time. Someone else says, as someone who was constantly left alone with her younger brother at such a young age, you are so right. So there's an update, child. There's an update. Let me scan through this. No, I want to be surprised. Sometimes I pre-read stories, but I like when I can have a natural reaction to what's going on. So let me not read ahead. Okay, update 4 days later. Last weekend, my husband left our 5-year-old and 9-month-old home alone while I was gone and then refused to admit it or provide a plausible explanation. Since then, we had many arguments about it. I've been living in a constant state of anger and frustration. I didn't want to fight about it anymore, but I couldn't help it, and I kept bringing it up again and again. I couldn't lay low and pretend to get over it while I waited for him to do it again and catch him in whatever was going on. I also knew that demanding he tell me the truth wasn't going to get me anywhere. Since he'd been refusing to talk and deflecting for days, all it was doing was making me enraged and feeling like I was about to have a brain aneurysm. I told him to hand me his phone so I could check his location at the time. He refused. He said he wouldn't do it and that it was a violation of his privacy. He won't be treated that way and refuses to give into my delusions. You think I enjoy being in a situation where I have to beg my husband to show me his phone so I can see where he was at? I hate it. I don't want to live that way. I told him it's simple. If he was really at home the entire time, just prove it. Why wouldn't he want to clear this whole thing up? I got so mad that he wouldn't turn over his phone that I told him I was going to the neighbors to get their doorbell footage. She shouldn't have told him that. Sis, okay, now I understand this is a rough situation. It involves child endangerment, but you gotta keep your cards to your chest just a little bit. I wouldn't have told him that. At this point, I would be thinking, I don't know this man. Whatever I tell him, he might fly off the handle and do something that I least expect. He already doing things I least expect, so I wouldn't say too much, because low-key, that could try almost put you in danger. But she said, at first he was like, fine, go do it. He didn't think I actually would. He knows I don't like to air drama to others, so he probably figured I'd just swallow all of this crap he's been giving me. Luckily, I was totally being driven by anger at this point, so nothing was going to stop me from going to the neighbors. When I actually started to go out the door, he tried to stop me and followed me out the door. I felt pure anger rushing through my veins, nothing else. The neighbor who I probably said less than 10 words to in the entire time we've lived here told me he'd send me the footage. I went home, told my husband that the neighbor didn't have the footage from that day anymore, and told him I just needed to go to the store and cool off. Oh, okay. So she recovered. Because I'm like, girl, you giving him all your play-by-play. But she told him, oh, the neighbor doesn't have it, but the neighbor actually did have it. Okay. She said, so I put the kids in the car and went and parked somewhere while I waited for the neighbor to send me the footage. I have the neighbor's number now too, and he told me if I needed any more footage, he will be happy to give it to me. The video shows a blue car that I don't recognize show up and park in our driveway. A blonde woman gets out of the car and goes towards my house. She walks on the outside of our garage toward the gate leading to our backyard. The gate is too far back and out of the way to be seen on the doorbell footage. She and her car were there for 23 minutes. Imagine that. The car leaves right around the time that my husband called me to say he was home and had been home the entire time, as I was rushing home in a panic and calling him on repeat. Okay, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he really was just cheating. I say just, but maybe it really was just cheating, because it looks like he didn't actually, so technically he wasn't lying. He didn't actually leave, but he was indisposed for a certain amount of time. Like he was in the basement or something to where the kids didn't have access to him for an extended period of time. Dang. See, this is why I wish she would have kept, because then she could have pulled up to the house. Like if she wouldn't have called him while she was on the way, she could have just pulled up to the house and then actually caught him in the, act. But I understand, like in a situation like this, I don't know actually what I would have done, but yeah, hindsight is 2020. She said one of two possibilities as to where they went. She either came in through the side door of the house, which does provide direct access to the basement, or, and what I think is more likely, is that they were in the backmost area of our yard, which is a gated pool area. Immediately behind our house is a grass lawn. Then you step down a few steps and we have a patio. Then there is a fully gated area where the pool is. It's not like you think of when you picture a gated pool. It's a full 6-foot wood fence all the way around, plus even taller landscaping for added privacy. You can't see into the area at all unless you're inside. I think it's more likely that they were back there because my son said his dad's keys were gone and we keep that gate locked with a key. The pool is closed for winter, but there is one small building back there, sort of like a shed we converted into a changing area, and there is a covered patio with furniture. I'm convinced that's where they are. So technically, he was home, but in an area totally removed from the house and where he couldn't see or hear the kids if something happened. I asked him how he could explain this. What were they doing? I obviously don't need him to tell me what they were doing, but for some reason, I still had hope that he'd finally be honest. He wasn't contrite. He showed no remorse. He was just like, yeah, she was here, but I obviously never left. Boy, if you don't, that would piss me off. She continues, who is she? How long has this been going on? And if he's going to be such a disgusting, despicable excuse of a man, then why couldn't he at least have found any other time and any other lie or excuse other than when he was home alone with our kids? I told him I know this has happened before, and I demanded to know how many times he's done this when he's been home alone with the kids. He swears this is the only time, but he still doesn't have the cojones to confess to what they were doing. I don't believe him that this was the only time, FYI. I still have so many questions, and I still feel like my heart is beating 200 times a minute. My blood pressure is through the roof. I've cried a lot, sobbed, begged for somebody to help, yelled, screamed, ordered a bunch of books about divorce and custody. And you know what? The next day, after our multiple explosive fights, what? Him putting his hands on me, girl, what? And me seeing the evidence, he acted like everything was totally normal and like none of that stuff ever happened. Girl, he said he was ordering breakfast to be delivered from our favorite breakfast place. Girl, he asked if I wanted to go to the store together later and try this new recipe for chili tonight. What? Why would I want to do any of these things with you now? Absolutely no acknowledgement of anything he's done or what's transpired between us in the past few days. He deserved an Oscar for how well he was able to act like none of that happened, completely comfortable and non-fazed. I don't know, sis, you need to get out of there. This is alarming to me, honestly. Like, how someone can be that unfazed. Like, you just got caught doing something you wasn't supposed to do. We don't know exactly what. With a woman, with an unknown woman in your house, essentially. And now you're acting like nothing ever happened. What is wrong with you? I would be scared to be around this man. Something is not right with him. So she says, I know that it's a waste of my energy, but I just desperately want him to admit the full truth of what he did that day and any other day with this woman. I want to hear it from him. It won't change whatever he's done, but he could at least have the respect and decency to be honest now that he's been caught. That's a ridiculous thought though, right? How foolish of me to expect this man to show decency and honesty now. If he was a decent and honest man, then he wouldn't have had a strange woman over to our house and been out of sight from our kids for 23 minutes. His continued denial and refusal to admit to anything other than the bare minimum, his attitude like I'm somehow being controlling or infringing on his rights by asking for information, that's almost more hurtful than him cheating on me. Girl, it's done. Like, it's a done deal. I mean, you handle it differently than I would have, which, like I said, you never really know what you do in these situations. I would have tried to gather more evidence before I just am like, I know this. What did you do? Like, I want to come, a little bit more prepared. But again, I understand the situation. All that aside, I'd be out of there because a person like this would really be quite frightening to me, and I wouldn't want them around me or my children a second longer. I don't know if you can go to your mom's house, if he can go to somebody's house, I don't know, but maybe you can contact a lawyer to see the best. Like, this gives me beginning of a true crime episode. Like, it rubs me really the wrong way. It really makes me nervous. You hear about those guys that are like having an affair and they really want to be with the affair partner or whatever, and so they take care of the wife and claim the insurance money. Like, you don't know this man at this point. You don't know him. You don't know what he's doing, what he got going on, what he up to. I would be out of there. She said, so some of the comments, someone said, OP, he has not been honest and won't be honest. Even if he is, what would that give you? Could you even believe it? OP, you know what he was doing. You don't need him to spell it out for you. Put yourself and your children first. OP responded, at the end of the day, him admitting to what he's done wouldn't really change anything. It certainly won't change anything he's done. It won't make it better, and I probably still wouldn't believe I was getting the full truth. Yet, I can't stop seething over the fact that he's refusing to give me any info. Of course, why would he? He's a psychopath. Like, he really doesn't care. He lied already. There's no incentive for him to tell you the truth now. So maybe you can invest in a tracker from Amazon or something. You can put in the car, something that connects to the car so it can't easily be found. Maybe that connects to an app on your phone so you can see his movements, etc., etc. I mean, not saying that's what you have to do, but maybe that could be an option if you really want to get to the bottom of it. Someone else said, because he is hoping that if he doesn't admit to it, there's a chance you stay with him. He cheated. He endangered your children. He is selfish. Someone else said, I'm so sorry you're going through this. Unfortunately, you won't get anything from him. If I were you, I'd channel that anger into a plan to take your kids and leave. He will never say he left his kids in a dangerous situation to cheat on you. You know it's what happened. He knows it's what's happened, and it will continue. Make no mistake. For some reason, I still feel like he was out there doing drugs with that woman and possibly other things. It just, I don't know, because I feel like in other men cheating stories, unless he just didn't trust the 5-year-old to not spill the beans on, that must be it. Like he just didn't trust that the 5-year-old wouldn't tell, but I don't know. Either way, he left the kids alone and he had some unknown woman at the house. So he's already 2 for 2. There's no other update yet. Oh, all right. Time to go to the palate cleanser. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Okay, yeah, it's this video that I saw on TikTok of this little boy who was at, looks like Disney World or something. It's Buzz Lightyear in one of those like mascot costumes. And on the screen, it says POV Buzz Lightyear realizing that we can sign. So Buzz Lightyear knows sign language too at this place. I thought that was so cool. So he's talking to the boy, and so he first leaned down to like interact with the boy because the mascots can't actually talk. But the boy wasn't responding, and so the mom signed to the boy and said he's a space explorer. And so then Buzz Lightyear looked at the mom and was like, oh wait, he can sign, and said it in sign language. So then he started speaking to the boy in sign language. He said, that's me in the rocket, what's your name? And the boy gives him his name, J.A. He said, my name is B-U-Z-Z. That's my name. Nice to meet you. He said, he signed I love you to the boy, and he gave him a hug. And then there's a sister there. He says, can you sign too? She nods, and he asks her, what's her name? She says, Evelyn. And he said, nice to meet you. You're beautiful. Thank you. And asked the boy if he wants a picture. That's just so cool. Like he really out here. I thought that was so sweet. That's such a random like skill to know for, a mascot or whatever at Disney. But I wonder if maybe that's like part of, not like the job requirements, but like a good to have, like if you're able to sign or whatever. That's just, it's not a lot of people that you'll probably come across during the day that know sign language, but for the ones that do, I think it would be really meaningful to like know that skill and make those children feel included. Like they can also talk to the mascot directly and not have to be, and low key, they can even talk to the mascot even more because the mascot can't actually speak with their mouth. So really, if you sign in, you low-key have a more of an interaction than people who can't sign, low-key. Anyways, I thought that was a cute video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.